All right, speak. As you journey along your path, your spiritual path, there are often different characteristics that would start to become dominant within your being. In fact, there are many. There are 5 or maybe 10 which are the most common. And it is common to see that your life will begin to shift in what becomes important. And if you're not careful, of course, then this just becomes another play of the ego rather than a stepping away from the ego into your spiritual truth. So the connection to your spirit or the connection to another spirit must come through the truth of what is beyond the mind and not from just an aspect of the mind. So if you have not done your work and have not done some understanding of self, then you are constantly playing out the same set of the beliefs and values and also the values of others as they come dominant into your life. So the common characteristics are: first, you become more desiring of truth and you seek truth. You want to be told the truth and you want to work with it. Anything less is not real. Anything less is not important to you anymore. You want to be in the right place for the right people at the right time. You do not want to do your work and follow a false god. You want to seek the truth. You want to connect to it. And then you want to be a bearer of that truth. Second characteristic will be acceptance. You begin to accept certain aspects of yourself. Does not mean that you do not move beyond them in time, but you just know that you are good at this and not so good at that. Or in certain situations, this is what will be triggered. You bring awareness to that acceptance, and you bring acceptance to that awareness as you start to look at aspects of where you are, your connections to others, your deeper connection to yourself, the understanding of yourself, and being able to accept others more readily as they are and what they do. Because there begins a light of dawning and knowing that others are more than what they seem also. They may know or they may not know this. So in this acceptance, greater love becomes a greater possibility. When you truly accept another, then you see beyond what is there. You see their essence, their form, formlessness. You see their connection of their own divinity as the truth and acceptance become intermingled into what is beyond what is first seen. There's a greater sense of purpose. As this characteristic builds, then you want to be truly aligned, be a true expression You want to discover your purpose if you have not done so. Not only do you want to say, there is my purpose, but you want to feel it, and you want to embody it, and you want to try it on for size. And in finding this purpose, and the desire to express it into the world becomes more dominant within you. But again, it must be based in truth. Otherwise, it is just part of the play. The ego will take your purpose and say, I want to heal others because, in essence, I need healing myself. But when it is genuine, then the desires for the true purpose means there is no self involved, no reward, just the alignment with truth, and letting that truth, that light, that love flow through you into wherever it must go. So as the purpose becomes known, embodied, and practiced, then you will find that one gets deterred from their path less frequently. The path becomes truer, more honest, a little simpler. Does not mean there's no effort. Often there is greater effort. But the rewards are that expression, not on what must come out of it. The rewards are being aligned with your own true self. And you must watch your ego here, because you may think, well, the other must also find their purpose, their truth. You must find it. It may not be their time. But there is that inner desire for others to be aligned with who they are, what they must do, how it must be done, so they can experience your joy. But again, even though the motive may be honest and real, it can often draw people away into expecting others to perform their spiritual path. Just because one is on a spiritual path, it does not mean another has to be. Just as one is finding and expressing life beyond the physical form, it does not mean that your partner must do it as well. At times, they must provide a set of circumstances to allow you to do your work. And in return, maybe you should do exactly the same. Allow them to do their work in their way. It's often thought that the ideal is one supporting the other, and that may be true, but the support may not be in the way you first think. It may not be that you both sit and meditate together at the same time in the same place and worship the same God. Your partner is still an aspect of you. Your friends the same. Your teacher no different. Your student is the same also. The essence of that truth once found means that there is only one. What would be the purpose then if there is only one? Interesting question. Perhaps our fifth characteristic, I believe, is our fourth. Our fourth is authenticity. The authentic self, what everyone craves, is not what you think. Often the authentic self is dreamed of being someone full of love and light and saving the world and tying themselves to every tree that must be demolished or removed. The authentic self is one where you feel aligned with the spiritual flow, you say. But the more you dive into your authenticity, the more you go beyond what you think you must express into the feeling of that light that is there somewhere. To discover the authentic self, it starts to be a dawning that in fact there is not that individual self at all. In fact, there is not something that is called by one name or another. Spirit then starts to feel empty rather than full for a while. As the one whose search for their authenticity starts to question who and what they are. They must then naturally change from the expression of what I do to how am I today? Who am I being? What is my truth? That authenticity then goes deeper once more. As the individual then not knowing who they truly are starts the period of growth through the darkness. And the darkness initially feels quite lonely and difficult. As one begins a path, what would be your first step? Or rather like perhaps taking a holiday and not knowing where you're going and what you are doing or what you will become or achieve or anything else, but you take that first step. So the initial trepidation, the initial challenge, the initial worry, if you would like, within a few steps converts into trust. And then that trust starts to build. And the building of trust means there is a building of connection. Building of connection then starts to be one based in love. So sometimes people's path means they get stripped bare of what they once thought was at least part of who they are. And yet they must continue to walk. You have taken everything from me, but I still know that I must move forward. I must move forward knowing and not knowing, in accepting, but also wide in my perception. So your perception starts to look broad. Not because you are particularly looking left and right, but rather you know left and right exist. So you may be looking forward, but also to the side. You may be just looking, waiting. And then the waiting changes. From the looking in all avenues to our fifth characteristics of greater appreciation of the world. So you may sit in your garden at the appropriate time and not necessarily be focused on a book or an ant or a bird. You may be just within the presence of everything. And that is complete in itself. And sitting in the presence of everything means nothing is left behind. And thoughts may occur. A resistance may rise. It's neither accepted nor rejected. There it is. Let us keep looking. At this time, this appreciation of the world, you start to see the wonder. And that wonder may be quite connected to something small, maybe just a sensation that arises within you. But as soon as you see something, you may let it go. So then you become more aware of the potential to follow a bird, the potential to follow a thought, the potential to create, or even to terminate, the potential to just sit or not. And the removal of expectation means there is a feeling of presence starting to become known. And the temptation is to follow that presence and say, who are you? But this is still an arising within your conscious space. It must be checked to see if it is it just a thought? Is this something real? Is it worth removing my attention from the potential of the world to focus on just that one thing? Now, there are many more characteristics. The willingness to humanitarianism, courage, openness, love, and other things. But you will know within yourself that you seek truth, authenticity. You want that truth to come to the surface in your purpose. That purpose must result in love and happiness. And then the grace of being grateful for all that is within your viewpoint and yet to come into your viewpoint. To know the desire to seek truth, purpose, acceptance. are all part of you removing or dusting your outer layer, the cleansing of your mind, by allowing the mind to be clear rather than caught on one facet or another, allowing the genuine flow of spirit rather than the conditioning of the past. Then your condition and your connection to spirit becomes primary in your life. Not one that you just do for 1 hour and then not at all, but it's underlying it all. And then falling off your path, giving away of your path, turning your back upon it, becomes more difficult because it is your truth. So the expression of this truth does not need a vacation. It does not even need a target or a reward. It is complete unto itself. And if you expressed your true truth to no more than the wind, or to an auditorium full of people, then it does not matter. You create, you express, and you allow that energy to bobble along on its course wherever it may go. Imagine the other way. Someone who did not find truth, authenticity, and purpose, but instead chased a goal. Chased this feeling of, I must help others, without really finding what is being said or needs to be done. What if you were in a rush and decided, I must present to the world? Not actually finding your truth beyond it. What if you were in a desire to heal the world, but did not know who spirit were, did not know the energy, did not know what could be done, but only saw the obstacles to doing it? How would the expression? What if there was that little seed within this person, which upon watering it starts to flourish into the world, and then the light of awareness is shone upon it, and they see that seed, which is now a flower, as being an expression of the hurt I have carried inside of me. What would that person think and do? Would they not think, I need to get to the bottom of this? would you not say to them, find spirit first? Would you not say to them, from that finding of spirit, your truth is born? Would you not guide them to their own truth themselves by being their best expression that you can be? Or would you guide them by saying, well, he's 20 lessons? Now, of course, the lessons may give you an attraction for a period of time. But you guide them by being your truth, living your purpose, and by not caring what the outcome would be. So sit in your truth. Notice these characteristics trying to bubble to your surface. Notice they are a dusting away of your outside layer. Check them and see if they are based in your ego or your habit. See if they are based in your desires for your own healing. See if you are being clear yourself. Are you the expression of love? When you find your spirit, you give the permission to others to find theirs. You may not necessarily stand on a street corner and shout your message to the masses, but you may also. You may be content in sitting in the light, in the garden, and the light may push you along a way. Is it based in your truth or not? So there's various exercises that you could or may do to look in. And of course, there is often meditation based, but truly it's based in awareness. The ability to watch, the ability to see, the ability to perceive, the ability to feel, until it's grounded in the ability just to be. Perhaps it's time for our healing list. If I may have the names now, please, Brandon.
Nancy Krause, Stephanie and Tom Beck, Steve and Janice Wareham, Holly Norton, Karen S., Jeremiah and Maureen, Jody, Noah, Sharon and Nicole, Cynthia, Lua, Alex, Karen, Roz, Rob, Susie, Aiden, Abby, and Amanda, Mark, Barb, all the Rabbins and their families, Tom, Anisha Ann, Lakeisha, Tori and Michelle, Jody, Ryusi, Oliver, Elizabeth, Lee, Ray, Erin and Grace, Karen S., Guy and Helen, Graham and Wendy Beck, Malata and Tim, Greg and Amanda, Lorna, Cheryl, Nola, and Richard. Thank you.
So as promised last week, I said I would open to questions. Should you have a question, then feel free to ask it now. If other questions start to build in your mind, then you may ask them next week as well. And you may ask on topics of your choice, but the preference would be about the path to being your true self, your spiritual self, but as you wish. So, Brandon, do we have a first question?
Yes, we do, my friend. That goes to Amanda.
Hello, Ignatius. How are you?
Well, thank you.
That's good. I have two questions, please. The first one is I had a dream and you were directing me that I would work with the host. I just want to know that I understood that correctly. And the second one is about the fifth dimension. Is the fifth dimension not a physical world? Is it a spiritual world?
Well, many people will use many definitions to define aspects of release of the mind. So it depends again where you are viewing from. So some people will say the spirit and evolution into spirit world is multi-layered, multi-dimensioned, and also working through various both physical and spiritual experiences to find self. Within those experiences, there may be worlds or dimensions that one may cross or deal with. So they may deal with a physical world and then an emotion, a mental, or even what they could call a soul or spirit-based. Different names are used, and people may associate with those different rules. In essence, what is occurring is one is freeing themselves from the beliefs and limitations of mind. And in limiting themselves, they have to create a structure and therefore create it in many different ways. So that structure then gives people the definition of layers or realms or even, well, you could say vibration. But when you start to cleanse the mind and clear it, then there is the release from anything of mind to be the purity of no mind. And in having no mind, then there is expansiveness, totality, complete awareness. And then there are things to discover within there at a later date. So for many, the feelings of different layers of spirit, different layers of mind, different worlds, different dimensions are often created as a releasing let's say, one layer to reveal another layer, and that layer becoming more subtle than the one before. Not necessarily smaller, in fact, would appear to be larger. So let me look at it another way. So often throughout life, people start the first half of their life in acquiring, of building, of gaining, of achievement, of getting to a certain standard as best as they are able. And after this has been done, people may begin the second half of their physical life, and rather than what they achieve, they start to let go and release and start to remove things which do not serve them. Of course, that may be things like their career, maybe their house, maybe their mind, their beliefs, and their habits. So there is a cleansing that takes place in this second half. What is picked up in the first half is put down in the second half of life. And what is occurring in that second half is removing of things which have weighed them down, as they start to see that the path has not been one of acquisition, but one of understanding. And then, of course, then one becomes interested in what this understanding is, and they may follow the path of Jahani, or knowledge, a knowledge seeker. And if you were to follow the path of knowledge, then you would know that the knowledge becomes deeper. But it doesn't become deeper by being smaller, it becomes deeper by being more expansive. Others may follow other paths. But when you follow the path of knowledge, it may lead you on, but it becomes a bottomless pit of more needing to be known. So this is the widening of perception. Is that not the same of widening of understanding, of realization, of moving through dimensions? The truth really is removing everything that is in the way of who you really are. If you want to say your God self, if you don't mind that term. Let's just call it truth. Now, there are many things in the way of that truth. But the truth doesn't alter, no matter what is in the way. Rather, untruths or limited truths generally get removed to reveal what is underneath it. So you can measure this truth, if you wish, by measuring vibrational rate, realms, what's your rate of consciousness? Where am I in my chakra experience? So that then says there is a choice. Do I follow the way of a person saying that there are realms in the afterlife? Or do I find or believe the expression that there is just pure spirit and there is nothing else? So there's only one realm. Now the truth is that there is just one realm. But to get there, for many people, they like the stepping stone approach or the broadening of dimension, of going from realm 1 to realm 2. But that gives the play of improving one's life. So it comes to a certain point that you see that there is in fact a duality, that the one realm and the multiple realms do exist at the same time. And that sounds like a contradiction. But in fact, it is not a contradiction. It is everything is possible, is within the creativity of what that individual may be. But it is all still within the one realm. So often people would say, well, is there two or is there one? Because I believe that there is death and there is life. And I will live 80 years and then I will go to the other side and I will become an angel. And there's another belief that says, well, you're only ever spirit, you're just pretending not to be. And when you see it clearly, you can allow the duality of growth and existence, knowing it's no more than, well, just a play of vagaries that are occurring. So if there's no judgment, you did not judge, and you knew that it's all still within you, you would know your truth and you would honor your true self, and you would let yourself play the pretense that you are not yourself. So then people get visions and dreams. Dreams, in this definition, are just temporary and just a play of energy and belief through the mind. But the vision that occurs is often a signpost of whatever is next, or what that person needs to know to continue to walk the path. It is a message from yourself to your limited self. If you prefer, from spirit to the human mind. But in essence, you are already spirit, whichever way you believe. So it can only be from yourself to yourself. And so then you must pick, do you follow that vision? Of course, you must choose. I think I will. Well, that vision will ask something of you. For many people, it will be trust and love and walk the right way. Honor truth. Honor the true self. So the answer to your question, is there a fifth dimension? Well, the answer is yes and no, isn't it? Yes, if you want it to be. And as you get to higher levels, you'll see that well, if you want a fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, still all within the spiritual completion. So then the whole, the one, and the many are still the same thing, but appear to be different. Change the words. There is one dimension, but the multiple dimensions are still part of the one dimension and exist only by where you view it from. Maybe the answer for you is a little complex. And maybe I have confused your mind more than I have clarified it.
I think you're saying it's like the tissues. Each tissue reveals another layer.
Yeah.
And I understand about as being the one. That makes sense. So
Yes.
we've got these bits
Well,
in place.
you can either see the layers or you see the whole onion. So you see the one or you see the multiple levels. So those multiple levels, in this case, we are saying dimensions or realms. And that is the play of the soul to find its way to whatever the supreme layer is. But in this case, we're saying it's the spirit.
Yes, thank you,
When you,
Ignatius.
when you see the spirit, then you see it that's all of that layers of onion are still within the onion itself. But if you're viewing it from a journey, you would go from one layer to another to only discover you are the whole thing all the way along. So the answer is yes, there is dimensions, and no, there is not. There is only one. Which, again, appears like a contradiction.
I understand what you're saying.
So is your body made up of, let us say, 1 trillion cells? Would you say you are 1 trillion levels? Or would you say you are one?
It's
It's
one.
just made up of 1 trillion. Wow. Then would you say that you live a certain life and then you qualify to be a cell that's within a muscle? There, I've advanced a little bit. Would I then say, well, I have qualified now from being a cell within a muscle to a cell within the heart itself? I must be of higher level. And then you qualify in perception from a cell in the heart to, let us say, a cell in the mind. I must now be more advanced. Then you realize you're on the left-hand side of the mind. You think, if only I could be in the right-hand side of it. Then after you followed this path, you suddenly realize, there wasn't a journey to do after all. There was just the belief in the journey. So there's a belief of first of all, the belief in the limited, not even knowing that there is other options. And 99% of the human race is there, do not know of other options. Some turn their head and realize what's going on, what is actually happening. But then they turn their head towards understanding. Well, I'm actually a cell. what's happening here? And then they decide, how does this work? They may try various skills or exercises to grow themselves or to explore deeper, and they follow a path. I will be a better self. I will be better. Of course, then you see the play in operation from the one who is all selves at all times and is aware of all things. It is in all things and outside of all things at the same time, because there's only one. That one, if you like the word spirit, then that's what it is. If you want to say there are dimensions to move from a cell of randomness into one of muscle to heart to mind, etc. And that is the journey as well. But you see, as I said, that when someone really follows and expresses the characteristic of knowing of their true spiritual self, they find their spirit. They find there is something much more, and they know of it, even if they cannot put a name on it. Then they hold it. That particular cell starts to glow. And that cell becomes no more than an expression of the light that must flow through it. So is there dimensions or is there not dimension? Is there one universe or is there just one that is divided into as many a number as you can think? Is there one ocean on this earth or are there many? Can you look at the rest of the human race and see the connecting point, or there are individuals? The eyes will say that there is billions and billions. But the spirit says there is only one. Just your eyes are accustomed to seeing separation. So move forward with your vision. If you wish, discover where the vision comes from. Follow the path backwards and see what's on the other end of that path. You either walk through all the visions, all the realms, all the dimensions to discover the one, or you discover the one, and then you can do what you like. But it's still the one anyway.
Thank you, Nash. It's very helpful.
I honestly hope it was.
Yes, it was. I appreciate you no end. I'm so grateful that you're leading us where you are. Thank you.
Is there another question, Brenda?
We can save the other questions for next week, my friend. Thank you.
Have I filled all our time already?
Indeed.
Well, start with your purity and just notice what's in the way rather than looking at what's in the way and seeing or hoping to find the purity beyond it. Look down on your life rather than trying to look up from your life. My undying support to you all. God bless you. Blink in the eye, blink of the eye. Really an hour. Yes. Doesn't lie. Oh, well, okay. Oh, turn that off.